Hey everybody, Mike Naso here from IPR with the latest on potentially catastrophic Hurricane Dean, a Category 5 hurricane bearing down on the Yucatan Peninsula. You can see right about there is Chetumal, Mexico. Up here is Cozumel, and then up here is Cancun. And you can see Hurricane Dean continues to make a very quick beeline right for the area here around Chetumal. Certainly areas in this region could experience winds potentially as high as 180, 190 miles an hour, gusting higher than that. Storm surge flooding, overly significant, catastrophic damage. Certainly one of the strongest hurricanes we've ever seen. And if it makes landfall as Category 5, it may be the first Category 5 landfall we've seen in this region of the Atlantic since Hurricane Andrew hit South Florida as a Category 5 in August 1992. So certainly Hurricane Dean will be one for the record books. It's already caused billions in damage, killed many people, and I have a feeling we may see more damage and death in the Yucatan, unfortunately. So again, a very catastrophic hurricane as it continues to intensify as it heads towards the coast. Certainly Hurricane Dean is a very nasty hurricane. Let's take a look at the latest right now on our hurricane.
And certainly Hurricane Dean will go down in the record books as one of the more intense hurricanes we've ever seen in the Atlantic, already tied with Janet in 55 for the 10th most intense ever, and I have a feeling when recon gets out there in a couple of hours they'll find an even more intense hurricane. You can certainly see Dean as a large hurricane, very good anticyclonic flow, high pressure aloft, and notice here we even have this upper level low over Puerto Rico, which is only helping to vent the hurricane. So this has an ideal environment over the very hot Caribbean Sea, and it has become a Category 5 hurricane. Here's the latest on Hurricane Dean as of 11 p.m. Eastern. Winds were 160 miles per hour, gusting to 195. It was moving to the west at 19, so still fairly quickly due west. That pressure, once again, 914 millibars, and I have a feeling when we get recon out there, it may be even stronger than that. Again, the track is pretty straightforward. In about 6 to 8 hours, it should be inland over the Yucatan as a Category 5. Since it's moving quickly, it might retain Category 5 status a few miles inland, but then weaken quickly, and by tomorrow night be a Category 2 exiting into the Gulf, in the southern Gulf, the Bay of Campeche here, and it may never get north of 20 degrees in the Gulf of Mexico, but it still could become a major hurricane once again before it hits the Mexican coast here. And we have all those watches and warnings up for the Yucatan and mainland Mexico on the Gulf side as well. Again, you can see the latest IR satellite of this hurricane, a classic-looking hurricane, certainly very intense. You can see the deep convection surrounding the eye, and then that ring of warm cloud tops, the oranges right around the eye, and that eye is going to continue to shrink and intensify as it heads due west into landfall. And again, just looking at the water vapor, you can see, look at this very intense convection here all around a very strong hurricane. And even looking at it from afar, once again, look at the outflow expanding in every direction here. Certainly one of the worst hurricanes we will have seen in quite some time in this part of the Caribbean Sea. And again, the water vapor, very impressive. Again, a strong ridge of high pressure to the north of it continuing to steer it. Notice this upper low here in the northwest Gulf continue to move and keep this away from the United States. Thank goodness that this did not get to the United States. And again, even looking just a very, very classic, intense, beautiful, yet extremely catastrophic hurricane. So from a meteorological standpoint, this is one of the most classic-looking Category 5 hurricanes we will see. And it's rare to see Cat 5s making landfall anywhere, and let alone as they're intensifying. Again, it reminds us of Andrew in 92, was the last Cat 5 landfall in the Atlantic Basin in South Florida. So this is going to be pretty dangerous indeed. Again, here's the map of where the hurricane was as of 11, so it's about an hour and a half old, and again, with the hurricane zooming by towards the west very quickly, it's probably moved well beyond this point, and you can see the big city of Chetumal here, Mexico, just north of the Belize border here. There's Belize City down there. Belize will have winds offshore as the hurricane comes around, but certainly Chetumal might get in the center. And again, as you saw the hurricane forecast, it's expected to retain Category 5 status at least to this point. So Chetumal may be in the eye of a hurricane with a catastrophic wind and storm surge potential. Again, all these little villages along the coast here and all these little islands will not survive this hurricane as the storm surge comes in to the north you will see these areas here decimated. And I hate to have to say that, but that's the truth with this hurricane. Again, Chetumal, I'd be very concerned if I'm in Chetumal, as the hurricane appears to be heading directly in that direction over the next several hours. Again, once it reemerges in the Gulf, how much it weakens really depends on the hurricane itself. It could come out as a tropical storm, could come out as a Category 2 hurricane. Right now the thinking is that it's strong enough to maintain 5, 4, 3, 2, and then exit at about 100 miles an hour. We could see some re-strengthening, and certainly it could be a dangerous hurricane as it comes in here, but I'm very concerned about areas here in the Yucatan. It's not looking good at all. Hopefully those people were evacuated and will not have to bear the brunt of this Category 5 hurricane. So, Hurricane Dean's catastrophic impacts. Landfall likely around 3 to 6 a.m. Eastern Time. So that's about 3 to 6 hours from now when this update's posted. It's likely to be a Category 5 hurricane. The Hurricane Center doesn't often forecast Cat 5 landfalls, nor do we see them. We've seen only 3 hit the U.S., and numerous others hit areas here in the Caribbean. Of course, David, I believe, was about a Category 5 when it hit Hispaniola. I know Hurricane Janet in 55 was a Category 5 in the Yucatan, as was Gilbert in 88. Well, Dean will join them. Winds somewhere between 150 and 180 miles an hour sustained will occur with higher gusts. I say that because by the time the hurricane makes landfall and recon gets out there, the winds may be stronger than 160. Storm surge with a Category 5, 20 feet plus in certain areas, especially along the north side of where the eye comes in, and rainfall potentially up to 20 inches or more, which could cause life-threatening flooding and mudslides. So again, this hurricane, very devastating, Hurricane Dean, and I'll be back tomorrow with an update. Hopefully people in the Yucatan have prepared for this. Hurricane Dean, one of the most infamous hurricanes, certainly for the Northwest Caribbean Sea. I'm Mike Nasel from IPR. Stay tuned for more.